Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Anybody would think that I only ever do machine work, but I do actually do some hand stitching, and today I thought you'd quite like to see the sort of things that I do. I like to incorporate hand stitching with my machine work. So here I've been making some traditional Dorset buttons and then adding a modern twist to them by placing them onto some machined work that I have done with the decorative stitches on my sewing machine. So I thought today I'd show you how to make a basic Dorset button, because sometimes the instructions can be a little unclear, and sometimes it's easier if you're shown how to do something, how to hold something. So let me just set up and I'll be back with you in a moment. So here on the table you can see the types of things that you could use to make a Dorset button with. I've got some old curtain rings which I'm just going to take the screw out the end of, and then I will be able to use that. I've got a bangle from when my daughter was at home, more curtain rings. I think this was part of a dream catcher that I had, and some other little plastic rings which I think Pims do, or there's a company that does them out there. You will need a sort of blunt-ended needle with a big eye in it to take the thread that you're going to use, and normally you need something like about 3 meters of thread threaded onto your needle to do something on a ring about that size. Now the first thing that people have an issue with, I'm going to show you on the bigger one because you'll be able to see more so, is how to start off. What you need to do is you need to hold the end of the thread along the top of the ring and put your finger on it, and then if you pop that thread over your back of your fingers, you can come up through the ring and then underneath your thread, and it will take me a while to pull 3 meters of thread through. Just bear with me, you have to be quite, and there's your half of buttonhole stitch. So you can see, as I'm doing those stitches, you're getting these lovely buttonhole tops which are sitting on the outside of the ring, and we need to work our way all the way round until we come up to this point here, and then what we do is we push that tail end down and we try to do some buttonhole stitches over the top of it so that we're securing it in, and then we can cut the tail end off and that will be all nice and secure. Once you've gone all the way round, there's the little tail end that I've incorporated in as I've gone round, and what you need to do is once you've got that secured in there, you just need to snip that off carefully without cutting any of your other stitches, and that can be got rid of. So now I'm right at the end, and all I need to do is I just need to connect back to my very first buttonhole stitch. So I'm just going to come through the very first buttonhole on the edge, gently pull that through, and that's now all secure. Okay, now traditionally what they would have done is they turn the buttonhole in round to the back. Now sometimes I don't do that, sometimes I leave it on the edge because I might want to do something quite fancy like this one here where I've actually got a needle woven edge. But today we're going to do a traditional one like these ones here, and so I am going to turn the buttonhole edge round to the back like that, and then this is the bit that people normally struggle with the diagrams. I have my thread on the edge, so I come round the back. I'm going to put the spokes on now, which we're going to work on, we're going to weave on. I'm going to come round the back and halfway across and back to the top, and as I go over I'm going to pivot round and pivot round and pivot round and pivot, and this is where the spokes are going on, and it does look a little bit of a sort of mess, but I'm trying to keep these even round the edge of the ring until I get back to the beginning, and you have to remember to go all the way over so that you're actually on the back of your work. Now, if you can see there, this all looks terribly jumbled in the middle, and quite often when you see it in diagrams, this all looks nice and neat and tidy, but we have to make it like that. So I can't really see what's going on in the middle here, but what I can see is these sections here, these sort of lovely sort of almost like triangular shapes. So as I've just finished on this side, I need to come right over the back, and I'm going to come up on this segment here, and I'm going to pull my thread through. Try not to get a knot in it as you do that, and I'm keeping tension on it. I'm going to let go, and then I'm holding that between my fingers. I'm going to go to its opposite side, and where these need pushing about to make the right segments, you've got to manipulate them. So I need to go in there. So I'm going to go down, and on this first one, as you pull it, this is where you get to pull it. Can you see what just happened there? It pulled them into the middle, and you can fiddle with this. I've got a bit of a rogue one here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way around, and I'm going to put these little cross stitches up through each spoke and onto their opposite spoke. So can you see what I'm doing? So I'm using the opposite ones, and I'm working my way round, and you can now see each one, whereas before when we first started this you couldn't see how many you had or where to go, but now I can. And I've just worked, I put one in there because that one looks like it needs one as well, and you just work round until you've got it sorted out and you can see what you're doing. I've got one in there that's a little bit rogue. Now this comes with practice, and as you can see there, I actually have my spokes, but some of them have not got as equal distance between them. But this is all eyeballed round here, and you do the best that you can. Now once I've got that all sorted out and it's in the middle, it's now time to start the stitch, and all you've got to do is come up in whichever segment you decide, and I'm going to take my thread over the spoke in front of me so that I'm actually wrapping it, and then I'm going to go one spoke back behind it and come up through there and over into onto the other side of it, and then turn my wheel again, go back a spoke, come up and over to wrap it, turn, come up on the next one and down over that spoke. So I'm working backwards. So there's the next one, and I'm going down through that one. So I'm actually wrapping each of the spokes, and I'm doing it, it's like a backwards spiral really. And this is all you have to do, and you just keep going. Can you see those little blips that are arriving in the middle? Now they may be uneven to start with, but as you begin to work your way round, and you don't stop, you just continue, and you will fill up these, and what will begin to happen is they will begin to look like this one here. So all those little sort of bits there, they get more and more noticeable, and then they make this lovely spiral, and you can go and fill the whole of that up, or you can stop halfway. There's another one here which has been done with a variegated thread, and that one looks ever so pretty. And those two there are your sort of what you would call your basic Dorset buttons, in my opinion. And then of course you can play with them. So this one I've beaded the edge, and that makes that look really pretty. But you might want to make this lovely scalloped edge here, and that, as I said earlier, depends on whether you turn in the buttonhole to the back or whether you left it on the edge. So I have another one here that I'm working on. This is a slightly different Dorset button, And this one is, when we put the spokes in, we put the spokes in a slightly different way, so you get this lovely little sort of tree. But I'm on the edge of that, and what I've done is I've tied on another thread, and I've come up on this buttonhole edge of the Dorset button. And to get that lovely scalloped edge, what you do is you have to eyeball how many of these you're going to get round. But I've worked out it's about that distance. And so what you do is you come through the edge of your buttonhole and you throw a bar. There's my bar. So I've started there. I'm throwing my bar to this point, and then you throw a bar back. So you actually go back down on that stitch where you first started. And so I've got there 2 bars now. You can just see them there. And I'm in the place to start. So put the thread over your finger, and we're going to use the back of the needle, and we're just going to make buttonhole bars by doing under the 2 loops, or the 2 bars that we through, and you get buttonholes on the edge then. And I tend to count how many I can get along there. So that's 3, 4, and you need to be firm with them and make sure you pull them along the bar so that they sit all nice and evenly. And you're actually covering those 2 bars that you threw across there. So that's number 5, number 6, number 7, and I think I can get 1 more in there. So that's 8. And then to finish it, because it's up in the air here, you just take the other end of your needle and you come through from the back where that bar was originally thrown across that gap. Give it a pull, feed the thread through, and that will pull that lovely loop in. And then you start again by throwing another bar same distance, and you throw a bar back again, which then puts you in the place for, it doesn't help when you get a knot in your work. It does get a bit sort of, try not to pull knots, because you tend to get them so that you can't get them out. And what you don't want to do is be cutting this off. There you go, that one's out. So there's my first bar going back in again. And then throw the bar back from the front to the back. And now I'm in position to start my next lot of buttonholing over those 2 bars that I've just thrown across the edge and back again. And you work your way round like that, and what you get is this lovely effect here round the edge. And that can then have beads popped on it. So you'll see that this one here, which if I just pick this one up, you can see that I've done that here on this big one, and this was a curtain ring that I did, and I only did the wrapping of the spokes to that point because I wanted to decorate with little flower beads and sequins, and I wanted to put my scalloped edge on. So you can see that you can do all different types of things to a very basic Dorset button, whether you take the wrap into the edge or whether you have it just in the middle. This one's got a slightly different pattern on it, so instead of wrapping over one of the spokes, I've wrapped over 2 spokes, but you do need to make sure you've got even numbered spokes on there. And I've even managed to do one on, this is a shower curtain, and it did have a gap in the middle here, and what I've done there is I've used a part of a straw to connect across the gap, and then I've done my buttonholing round there, and I've actually thrown my spokes across in the same way as the circular one, and I just have my weaving in the middle there. So I hope that sort of makes things a little bit easier. It's not the only way to do it, it's just the way that I do it, and I hope that for some of you that might have made it a little bit more easier. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing how I make my Dorset buttons. I hope that you can glean enough information there. I know my fingers were big on the little small subject we were doing, but it might make it a little bit clearer for you. So I hope you like it, share it, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.